That down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, one of my absolute favorite guys in this entire business is Alan Tudyk. I love that guy. He never fails to delight me when he's on screen. There's also this one great picture. I've had a chance to meet, I've got two great Alan Tudyk stories. Okay. One is I was at Comic-Con a bunch of years ago, and I was in the press area where all the different press rooms are, where all the different movies and TV shows were holding like press interview areas in different rooms. And I was heading to one particular room for, I think it was for a Marvel movie, right? And as me and Chuck Norris, yes, that was his real name, my buddy Chuck Norris, that is his real name, we were walking towards our room that we needed to go to for this movie press junket stuff. And as we were walking, we walked by a room that had the big poster out front of Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And we stop at it for a second, and I turn to my buddy Chuck away from the door. I turn to my buddy Chuck and I point at the picture of Alan Tudyk on the poster. And I said, I love this guy. And as I turned back around, Alan Tudyk is standing right there. And without saying it, like he was just coming out of the room, I guess to go to the bathroom or something. And he just looked at me in the face and just went, and then walked off into the bathroom, which is great. And then another one, I think Ann and I were at the premiere for the second Wreck-It Ralph movie. And so we took a bunch of pictures while we were there. The next day we're going through some of the pictures. Alan Tudyk legitimately photobombed us in one of our pictures, which is just great. I love the guy. K2SO. What's
Firefly?
Well, I'm a leaf on the wind.
Yeah.
Firefly and Serenity. What does that end with his name being in Superman?
Oh,
whatever's the name. So is not Rob or
it's
Glenn or Ben. Gary.
Gary.
So's Gary. I love this guy. He's great. Anyway.
Forgot about that.
Some people might be surprised to find out that he was also, I believe the name of the robot was Sonny.
Yeah.
In iRobot. A lot of people go, wait a minute, that was Alan Tudyk? Well, now we know why a lot of people don't know that.
I have a full-size bust of his head.
Really?
I do.
Because Alan Tudyk just came out in an interview on a podcast and said it was because his character tested better than Will Smith's character did. This comes to us from the folks over at Variety. Headline reading, Alan Tudyk says that he got dropped from iRobot's Publicity after testing higher than Will Smith with test screening audiences.
What a slap to the face.
I was very upset. Get it? I was very upset, he said. Alan Tudyk appeared on the Tuned In with Jim Cummings podcast and claimed that he was dropped from the marketing and publicity of 2004's iRobot after it was discovered in test screenings that he was actually testing higher with audiences than leading man Will Smith. Tudyk appeared in the film as the robot Sonny via motion capture and voice acting. Axing him from the movie's publicity meant there were, and still are, people who have no idea that he starred in the movie. He also did all the motion capture, which was very new in that era. A lot of people did not know I did Sonny the Robot in iRobot, and there is a reason, Tudyk said. They were doing test audiences for the movie, and they score the characters in this kind of test screening. I got word back. Alan, you are testing higher than Will Smith, and then I was gone. I was done. There was no publicity, and my name was not mentioned. He didn't get to go on the press tour. They never publicized him being in it. They downplayed his presence in it. Now, I want to be very, very clear here. Alan Tudyk did not say that Will Smith got jealous or angry or uptight that somebody else was shining more than him, and Will Smith asked for me to be dropped from it. Nowhere does Alan Tudyk say this. But there's going to be a lot of people that thinks that may be implied. So let's, with the understanding and the blanket understanding that Alan Tudyk did not come out and directly say it was Will Smith who asked for him to be removed. But if it was, I mean, and it would track, because remember, we got that whole story from Quentin Tarantino about Will Smith was supposed to be Django in Django Unchained.
Yep.
But he, after reading the script and the breakdown, he thought that Christoph Waltz's character was getting too much of the cool stuff to do. And he thought more of the focus should be on him. So he didn't do it. Now, Will Smith has earned a place in Hollywood that he gets to be picky and choosy about what he wants to do. I have no problem acknowledging he has earned that right to do that.
Sure.
100% he has. But did he have that right in 2004? And if, under the theoretical possibility that he was the one who asked for Alan Tudyk to be released, that's pretty bitchy. That's pretty awful to take that away from the guy. Now, listen, it is also very possible that the studio itself may be, hey, we're trying to really highlight Will Smith in here.
Yeah.
And it might have been the studio totally without Will Smith's knowledge.
I would actually lean towards that.
Yeah, that is a very strong possibility as well. So before you rush off and make any assumptions, I will say that if it was Will Smith that did it, that's pretty crappy. But I also think, like Jonathan, there's probably a pretty strong chance it might have been an above Will Smith's head.
It feels very analytical.
Yeah.
To get, and then you come to that conclusion. That's why I say that.
Because, Alan Tudyk wasn't really, Alan Tudyk is not an A-list star today, but he's certainly bigger today than he was in 2004. So anyway, Rob, you hear about this story. How do you interpret it?
The movie's called iRobot.
Yeah. Yes.
and so the thing is, the most people would celebrate the fact that in this movie you have a robotic character you have a robot character that becomes a central focus of Will Smith and the rest of the film. And the fact that Alan Tudyk did such a great job bringing this character to life. Remember, this movie, what year? 2004?
2004, I think it was.
Okay, you're 5 years, you're only half a decade away from the beginning of Jar Jar Binks, which is one of the first digital characters. Gollum had been in Lord of the Rings in 2001, 2002, 2003. 2004, we'd never seen a robot character brought to life this way. And it made the film successful. If Will Smith was less petty than he is, and I'll tell you why I think he's petty in a minute, I'm sure it came from Will Smith. Because why wouldn't the studio say, hey, we have a great new digital character that's brought to, I think ILM did the animation too. So the effects, everything that was in this movie, really well done. It showed that Will Smith can hold his own, or a robot can hold their own against, or a visual effect can actually interact with a character. Will Smith is a very gifted actor, and I love Will Smith.
Oh, he's a generational kind of, I think
he's great. Look, he's won an
performer.
Academy Award. I loved him. I loved him like in movies like Enemy of the State and everything. But if you watch him on shows like Graham Norton, and he'll be sitting next to somebody on the couch, and they will be telling a story that he's not telling, if it's somebody sitting next to him, he always gets in on them. He's always like commenting in the middle of their story. He'll say something and kind of insert himself in, or comment on the, and I watched that, and there's one in particular, I can't remember who the actor is, and it always struck me out. I'm like, why didn't you let the guy tell the story? I understand that you're a comedian, but you're on a couch at a talk show. And Graham Norton does a really good job. But Will Smith, it was that one performance on that one episode of the Graham Norton show, because I love the Graham Norton show, that just put me off. And that was that one thing that I look at that actor and I'm like, why do you need to do that?
Well, maybe he thought he was helping. Maybe he thought
it's true.
Yeah.
It's true, but you got to give people there on the Graham Norton show, of all shows, people that chime in know when to chime in, because you got to let people tell their story. And so, look, I could be totally wrong, but there's no way that at that point in time in 2004 that they would downplay that effect, that they would downplay the robot in iRobot. It would have to be somebody who comes up and goes, and you know what? Great actors don't need to say, hey, I'm not going to let, if Alan Tudyk did all of this motion capture, Will Smith himself, as a stand-up guy, would have said, you can't remove him from the publicity tour of this. He did all this work. The movie's called iRobot. We worked together. It's all the work that we put in.
Here's a question, though.
Fellow actors.
Not a rhetorical question either. Right? Here's a question. Did Will Smith in 2004 have the juice to tell a studio to pull an actor out of the publicity?
Yes.
Think so?
Yeah, I do, because look, he'd already done Independence Day for Fox. They're one of their biggest grossing science fiction films ever. And look, Will Smith, I think, was Enemy of the State like like 1998 or something. He was a star, man.
That was a good one. That was
Yeah,
good,
I mean, Will Smith was on the, but the thing is, I can understand that you can be also fearful of the fact that a motion capture special effect is overshadowing you. But the thing is, you have to be smart enough to know, of course, a special effect is going to, the audience would love. Just because Alan Tudyk got high scores doesn't mean Will Smith is any lesser. People still love Will Smith, but they'd never seen a robot like that before. And that you have to remember that if that robot wasn't good, if people didn't love Sonny, the movie would have failed.
Well, I do want to
And that
point out,
movie's
though,
pretty good, even though Akiva Goldsman wrote it.
yeah, it's not my favorite one, but I like
pretty
it.
good.
But keep in mind though, they never downplayed the robot. I
No.
mean, when you look at the marketing, they highlighted the robot a lot in the visual effects.
Right.
They just didn't highlight who it was that
and
was
maybe
playing
the
it.
flip side of it is they just didn't want anyone to know that there was a human being behind it. Maybe they
Maybe
wanted
they
to-
didn't want to humanize it.
Yeah, could be.
Okay, oh, yeah, that's a possibility too.
But I think actors are petty and they do shit like that.
I think people in general are petty.
They are. They
Like,
are.
Look,
Intimation, he's guilty. He did it.
I'm just saying, I would not be surprised because, like I said, when you look at the Django situation, when you look at the Matrix situation,
Those are other
it-
instances.
It does track the pattern of Will Smith, so I wouldn't be surprised to find out that it was Will Smith that did it. But I'm just saying, I also wouldn't be surprised to find out if Will Smith actually had no idea what was going on about it, or even knew about it or cared about it. I wouldn't be surprised by that either.
And also, Will Smith also has to be careful because he did wind up in movies like Wild Wild West. And there was probably a level of insecurity with him. Like, he took a chance. Alex Proyas directed this, which, was, I love The Crow and knowing he's worked with actors. But there's probably also, he wanted to hedge his bets because this was a risk for him. When you take a big, it's a star turn with him as the star. Will Smith is the star of this movie. He took a risk in that when you are in a film that's so incumbent on effects to work, that's a risk. So I will give it up for him in that way as well. I mean, he did take a chance. He did make this movie, and I think it's respectable. I don't think it's a great movie, but it's a really good movie. I like it.
So look, I'm going to say in general is this. I'm going to choose to believe that Will Smith did not have anything to do with Alan Tudyk getting kind of pulled out of all the publicity of iRobot. But if it was, I count myself as a Will Smith fan. So
I do too.
I'm going to be pretty disappointed if we ever do find out that it was him that had him pulled out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Did you know that was Alan Tudyk as Sonny in iRobot? Whatever you guys think about this whole thing, jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.